It's Valentine's Day. Love is in the air, and in honor of that love, I want to talk about a murder mystery yaoi I've been reading. Psychomania is produced by Literature and is published on Billy Comics. I want to clarify that I started reading this to put together a case against yaoi, which I expect to come out in April. So if you want to hear more about yaoi, like and subscribe so you won't miss the notification. At the time of recording, there are only 51 chapters out, and the story isn't completed yet, but I've been thinking about it a lot, so here we go. The story follows Ming Shu and Zhao Yan, police officers in Dongyi City in Shangjing. Ming Shu and Zhao met when they were younger and formed a close bond. This bond later became a liability as they were kidnapped together. Zhao sacrificed himself for the younger Ming Shu to escape, but not without promising he will protect Ming Shu forever. Years later, Zhao returns as Ming Shu's superior in the police force. Together, they try to solve the murders going on in the city while trying to figure out what happened to them in the past. The murder plot and romance plot are interwoven in a way where I never get bored of either. A short diversion about Xinjiang. I've been reading a lot of Chinese comics on Bilibili lately, and I've noticed that a few comics are set in Xinjiang. I don't really think this is a coincidence, honestly. Xinjiang is the home of the Uyghur ethnic minority, which China is repressing. Murder and being gay. A lot of my thoughts about this builds off James Somerton's work here on YouTube. I highly recommend his channel. Thinking about it, I'm ultimately not surprised that this love story between two cops is a yaoi. Putting aside the obvious that police officer is a stereotypically masculine job, they deal with the criminal and dark side of the world. And by being murder investigators, they are exposed to the darkest parts of the world. And yet love scenes will seamlessly flow into and out of the plot, pushing it further in the mystery. While this is something that helps keep the plot flowing and helps it from becoming a stale romance, I think this is more emblematic of something deeper. While it's not illegal to be gay in China anymore, it can't be said to be an easy life as it is here in the West. Recently, China has been cracking down on effeminate men like K-pop idols and the like as an attempt to bolster the birth rate. Explicitly gay relationships are still technically illegal to depict, with enforcement being more dependent on the party line than anything else. This is why Disney and other major Hollywood filmmakers are hesitant, read afraid, to put openly queer characters into films they want to send to China. I think it's this semi-criminal space these two police officers are living in that informs their ability to shift from loving romance to abuse and murder. When your love can be a beacon for violence, there's a desensitization of other people's violence. I guess it's time we talk about yaoi tropes. They're the thing about yaoi that has me most concerned, because they often involve a lot of harmful stereotypes and depictions of MLM relationships. So the good news is that Psychomania doesn't really play around with more of the dangerous tropes like incest or non-consensual activities, but there are two that I want to talk about because they kind of bother me. So hear me out on them. The first is that Ming Shu and Zhao were kidnapped and formed a close bond. This bonding through shared trauma, which is different from trauma bonding, can be an unhealthy marker in a relationship. To Ming Shu, Zhao has been placed into the position of protector, both emotionally and literally. In a real-world relationship, this may be the beginning of a descent into an abusive relationship where Zhao can do whatever. Cut Ming Shu from whoever, all in the name of protection. And the problem is that Ming Shu will see all that as normal. The thing is, in gay relationships, trauma is something of an inevitability. Even in 2022, placing your partner in a position of protector like this will probably appeal to a lot of people who've been hurt before, but it's setting themselves up for more hurt. The other side of their kidnapping is something that bothers me a little less. Violence against gay people in media is something that has been pretty widespread. If you're watching this, you're probably familiar with the bury your gays trope, and this kidnapping feels like it's in conversation with that trope. I kind of hate sanitized portrayals of gay people, but they already get traumatized enough in their job. They didn't need tragic backstories, honestly. The next trope is really a staple in straight stories, especially stories written by men. The childhood lovers trope. You know the one, where they've known each other their whole life, and at one point it just develops into a relationship and they get married and are the perfect couple. This trope is especially troublesome in straight romances because it has a lot to do with women's chastity. The man knows everyone she has been with, and that purity really says a lot about how he views women who've had sex before him. Because of the nature of the trope, I was surprised to see it in a yaoi. Spilling the tea here, most gay men have had quite a few partners, and that's not a bad thing. To be honest, the trope's use here is kind of nice. The fantasy of having someone with you your whole life is very indulgent and luxurious, and it's not paired with particularly huge red flags, so I won't begrudge anyone the fantasy. So I read this to help me build a case against yaoi, but is it an offender of bad representation? I don't think so. I think this is a rare gem of a comic, but I'm curious to hear what you think. Leave your thoughts in the comments below. I'm moving to more short form content, and I'm going to need to take a break for the next 2 weeks, so I'll see everyone back here again in March.